Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for attending this webinar, which is organized by our African Ombudsman Research Center, a research and training arm of the African Ombudsman and Mediators Association. And today is the 25th of January, 2022. We have the very important speakers who will be presenting to us. We are here as the Ombudsman community to learn from them. So as the chairperson of the African Ombudsman and Research Center and the president of IOMA, I would like to thank the president of IOI, the secretary general of IOI, the treasurer of IOI, and the public protector of Zambia, and the secretary general of IOMA, and the president of the IOI Africa region, Ms. Kajuju, the ombudsman of Kenya, who made time to be present. I would also thank so much the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Dr. Freddie is trying to join, and thank you so much for participating. As the president of IOMA, you would know that the African Ombudsman and Mediators Association was founded in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso in 2003, and it's so unfortunate that now our sister country, Burkina Faso, is experiencing challenges, but we are with them and as the Ombudsman community. So we've got 44 Ombudsmen and Mediators institutions across the continent, and we also have sector-based ombudsmen who are members of the African Ombudsman and Mediators Association. And we have the IOMA leadership, which consists of the president, which is held by myself, South Africa. We were appointed in Kigali, Rwanda, 2018. We've got the vice president, it was Burkina Faso, but then she has resigned, replaced by Rwanda. The second vice president is the Ombudsman of Libya, and the Secretary General is the Ombudsman of Kenya, and the Deputy Secretary General is the Ombudsman of Seychelles. The Treasurer was Malawi, now replaced by Burundi after the resignation of the Ombudsman there. The Deputy Treasurer is the Central African Republic. And IOMA is structured into 6 regions. We've got the Regional Coordinator for Northern Africa, which is Tunisia, the Regional Coordinator for Southern Africa, which is Botswana, and Regional Coordinator for West Africa was Nigeria, but the post is vacant. They will replace because the Ombudsman has also resigned. There's a new Ombudsman. And the Regional Coordinator for Eastern Africa is Rwanda. Regional Coordinator for Indian Ocean, it was Madagascar, but the position is also vacant. The Regional Coordinator for Central Africa is Central Africa is Central African Republic. So we are driven by the OR Tambo minimum standards, which are there to make sure that each country will have to comply with. The standards are encouraging independence and autonomy of such institutions. The establishment of such institutions is preferably guaranteed in the constitution of the individual states, and the security of tenure of heads of such institutions. So it also touches on the mandate, the resourcing, the operations, the accessibility of such institutions. So all these standards are aligned to Article 15 of 2011 of the African Union, the African Charter on Democracy, Elections, and Governance, which deals with the establishment of support and effectiveness of ombudsman institutions and other institutions supporting democracy. So we are aligned as well to to Agenda 2063 of the African Union, where we would want to have the Africa we want into reality. And these aspirations deal with good governance, democracy, respect for human rights, justice and the rule of law, and peace and security, respectively. And we are also influenced by the global governance instruments, where we will also want to engage more with international organizations like the UN. But we are glad that we have then a very close working relationship with International Ombudsman Institute, which we will also hear from the president of IOI, Chris, who will tell us what is the importance of IOI and encourage members to be also part of that institute. So the African Ombudsman Research Center is the engine of this IOMA, and it's our research, information sharing, capacity building, and advocacy institution. So it's situated in KwaZulu-Natal, and we've conducted several training to the Ombudsman, and we are providing the support. Therefore, I would want to take this opportunity and encourage all members to participate in this fora and to gain experience. And I would leave the constitution of the IOI and when it was established, because we do have the president who will take us through that. And we will also hear more from the various speakers who are present here. But then, as the president of IOMA and the chairperson of the African Ombudsman Research Center, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this very critical, important session for the year 2022. And I would say I wish you all the best for this 2022. And I hope we will do things differently. We will learn more. And this has taught us that we can have speakers from Australia, from Austria, from around the globe, sitting in the comfort of our own homes, but as well benefiting and learning. So therefore, let's continue to use this institution to learn more as Ombudsman. Thank you so much, Program Director. I'll hand over back to, I don't know whether Dr. Freddie is ready. If not, I'll hand over to, Freddie, I see you are on. I'll hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Advocate Mukwebane, and I hope this time around I am able. Thank you. While I was trying to reconnect, I see that my status has been elevated from being just a member or an attendee to being a panelist, and I think that was the challenge that we were having. I apologize for the challenges. As I was trying to indicate, and I realized that I was talking alone, I was saying that I would like to wish all of you the best for 2022. And I wanted to start by quoting Pliny the Elder, who said that ex Africa semper aliquid novi, meaning that there's always something new out of Africa. And I would like also to borrow from what's happening here in South Africa, where after 26 years, we still refer to the 1996 Constitution as the new Constitution. So I would like to draw an analogy and say that one of the new shoots to have emerged on the African continent in the last 19 years is the formation of the African Ombudsman and Mediators Association, IOMA. This new body will soon be coming out of age. It will be turning 21. So I think we need to commend all those who've been involved in the activities of this body for the past 19 years. Equally, also in attendance today, are members of the leadership of the International Ombudsman Institute, IOI, which, having been founded in 1978, has been in existence for just over 4 decades. Now, this body serves as an umbrella body under which more than 200 independent ombudsman institutions from more than 100 countries cooperate. So as the University of KwaZulu-Natal, ladies and gentlemen, we are humbled and honored to host these 2 esteemed bodies that are led by people with impeccable credentials. Professor Brian MacArthur, who is the acting DVC for the College of Law and Management Studies, would have liked to have been here to welcome you all. But unfortunately, he's caught up in the activities that go with the beginning of the semester. So ladies and gentlemen, I myself, Freddie Munyongani, who is one of the academic leaders based at the School of Law, in my representative capacity, would like to welcome you all to the proceedings of today. And I would like to thank you all and hand over to the facilitator of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Please pass our regards to the university. We really appreciate the fact that you've hosted us, you've taken care of us as IOMA. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you, Madam President, for your welcoming remarks. We really appreciate the wisdom that you give us every time that you speak to us. We always have something to gain. Thank you, Madam President. It is now my privilege and honor to be able to facilitate this program today. Thank you for the opportunity. I really feel that it's our duty to learn much more every day, that the things that concern our institutions. Today is a very special day because it's still the month of January, the 25th. It is still a new year, much as we've been told by Professor that we refer to a constitution of 1996 as new. So the question is do we refer to the year as still Happy New Year? But I think because it's still January, we can say Happy New Year to each and every speaker, to each and every person who has found time to attend today. So today is going to be a very interesting discussion. We have esteemed speakers who are going to speak to us. The theme of the day is IOMA, the IOI, and the value of being a member. We're going to learn about ombudsman institutions and the respective bodies, organizations that have been put together in Africa and internationally, and what we as the ombudsmen of our respective countries can benefit out of being members in these institutions. As it has been said, this is a very good thing that has happened, especially in our continent in Africa, because ombudsmen are supposed to be the voice of the voiceless. They are supposed to be the change agents in their societies. And we are supposed to ensure there's good governance. We are supposed to ensure that human rights are upheld. And we are supposed to ensure that there is the rule of law in our respective countries. So we find ourselves in a space that is very important for us to be able to change society. And if we come together, as we are trying to do now, then it means that we are going to be of better value to the institutions that we serve. Today, we are going to learn about the value of being a member of IOMA and also being a member of IOI. We are going to learn about the functions of the various institutions that we have. We are going to learn about the capacities that we have in our respective institutions and how then we can come together to strengthen the capacities and be able to serve society. So we welcome you today to be able to listen to our speakers. We are sorry that we are just about to reorganize our program because our speakers will be able to attend or join us much later. But with that now, allow me to be able to welcome our first speaker. When I got the bios of the various speakers, I was overwhelmed, and I was asking Frankie whether how we go about it, because the bios are long, and the speakers have served in various capacities, and they have done quite a lot, and they have gained a lot of wisdom in the course of their service. We'll now start with my president of the International Ombudsman Institute, that is Mr. Chris Field. I'll try to say what he has done in his life. Mr. Chris Field is the Western Australian Ombudsman and the president of the International Ombudsman Institute. He holds arts and law degrees. He was appointed in 2007 and is currently Australia's longest serving ombudsman. Besides that, he serves as the Energy and Water Ombudsman at the State Records Commission. He is also an adjunct professor of law at the University of Western Australia. In addition, Chris teaches the University of Western Australia's Advanced Administrative Law Unit, Government Accountability, Law and Practice, and is the author of a range of publications on ombudsman and administrative law. So with that, you'll find that there's so much that we will be learning from Chris, and the topic that Chris is going to manage, allow me to call you Chris, but my president, the topic that is going to discuss with us today will be discuss the functions of the IOI and how it operates. He's going to educate us on the International Ombudsman Institute and why it is important for us to be able to be members of that institution. Allow me to welcome our president of the International Ombudsman Institute, Mr. Chris Field. Welcome, Mr. Chris.
To the Secretary General and my friend and colleague, Florence, thank you so much for that incredibly warm welcome. And I join you in saying it is still January, and therefore we can say Happy New Year. And I will send my Happy New Year from both Australia and Austria as well. Australia being my home, and Austria, of course, the home of the IOI. Thank you very much. And what a privilege and pleasure it is to join you. I want to commence by acknowledging my International Ombudsman Institute colleagues, friends, both old and new, IOI Secretary General and Austrian Ombudsman, Mr. Werner Amon, who'll be joining us by video presentation, as you know, IOI Treasurer and Public Protector of Zambia, and a very old friend of mine, Carolyn Ciccone, Basisiwe Maklabane, who has so many titles, it'll take me some time, but she's both the President IOMA, the Chairperson of the AORC Board, the Public Protector of South Africa, but of course also a Director of the IOI. Similarly to the Honourable Florence Kajuju, both our Facilitator today, Secretary General of the IOMA, but also of course our very valued President of the African region of the IOI, and a great friend and colleague. Both Basisiwe and Florence are of mine. Can I also acknowledge, and particularly acknowledge, the presence of a former president of the IOI, someone with whom I worked very closely over a number of years, and was an outstanding president of our institute, and is now the former but long-standing Ombudsman of Namibia, Mr. John Walters. And John, it's just particularly delightful to share a platform with you today. Well, as you know, in today's webinar, we're discussing AOMA, the IOI, and the value of African ombudsman institutions being a member. The topic, of course, is of personal importance to me, as one of my key commitments during my term as President of the IOI is to ensure that there is a very strong collaboration and support for African ombudsman institutions by the International Ombudsman Institute. And I've made that commitment publicly and privately. While I'm going to confine my remarks today to the value that the IOI can bring to members, of course, that is that which I can talk about with confidence, I will simply observe that I believe the greatest value for African ombudsman institutions is derived from being both a member of the AOMA and the IOI together. Now, I'm not going to speak further on this matter as I've noted that our former President, John Walters, will speak on this exact issue shortly in the seminar. Before moving to the topic at hand, I do want to thank AOMA and the AORC for this incredibly kind invitation to contribute today's webinar. I think this is my third opportunity now to speak to my African colleagues since my election as president in May last year, and those are the most presentations along with Latin America I've made to any continent, and it sits very, very strongly with my great friendships in the African region and my strong commitment to the IOI serving African Ombudsman. Can I note also the highly cooperative and valued relationship between AOMA and the IOI, which has included the signing of an MOU in 2013. The MOU is a very solid foundation upon which we continue to learn from each other. Now, speaking more personally, I've long been a very strong admirer of the AORC. It's my view that the AORC undertakes world-leading ombudsman research and training. In fact, I can't think of another research body that produces at such a consistent, high quality and output. As president of the International Ombudsman Institute, I'm deeply grateful for the work that you do, for not just the Ombudsman of Africa, but for ombudsmen all around the world. It has certainly always been instructive in my work in Australia. I also thank Dr. Freddie Minyangani, academic leader for teaching and learning at the School of Law at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, for his welcome to the webinar. I'm particularly grateful to the university, a world-leading university, for their support of the AORC. I want to take this opportunity to also express my deepest condolences on the passing of Archbishop Desmond Tutu late last year, and acknowledge his extraordinary contribution to the people of South Africa and indeed the whole world. And I join with my friend and colleague Basisiwe Makwabane in acknowledging the current situation in Burkina Faso as well. You have asked me to touch upon, in this speech, the functions of the IOI and how it operates, and I'm just delighted to do so. The IOI was established in 1978 and is the global organisation for the cooperation of more than 205 independent ombudsman institutions from more than 100 countries worldwide, which I think Freddie actually mentioned. The IOI is organised into 6 regional chapters: Africa, of course, Asia, Australasia and Pacific, my region, Europe, the Caribbean and Latin America, and North America. Now, each of these regions elects a regional president and directors who sit on the board of the IOI. In the case of Africa, the African regional president is our facilitator today, the Honourable Florence Kajuju. IOI Treasurer Carolyn Sacconi. Directors Basisiwe Makwabane and Dr. Antonia Araujo. The IOI board meets yearly in different parts of the world and holds a quadrennial World Conference, the next to be scheduled in 2024. And it was only just a few years ago that our yearly IOI board meeting was held in Namibia, hosted by our then President, John Walters. The IOI strives to increase its presence, to further develop its influence, to strengthen its authority, and to be an authoritative body on ombudsman matters worldwide. It endeavours to be recognised as the voice of ombudsman institutions within the international community. And the IOI can only do so when it works highly cooperatively with other regional representative bodies, including AOMA, but also, for example, the ILO in Latin America and COROA in the Caribbean, all of whom I've spoken to in the last few months. The work of individual African ombudsman officers is strongly supported by cooperative and representative bodies such as AOMA and the IOI. In all of the IOI's work, we are dedicated to being of value to every single one of our 205 and growing members, and particularly in how we provide tools and assistance to strengthen the capacity of African ombudsman institutions to be the most efficient in service and responsive to the needs of citizens of their respective countries. So let me just mention just a few of these types of tools and assistance. First, the IOI provides significant monetary grants undertaken as part of a major yearly regional subvention program with a fixed amount dedicated to the African region. Second, we provide formal letters of solidarity and other means of support, including visiting countries if required, for officers under threat or requiring support. A recent example is just yesterday, I, along with the Secretary General, Werner Amon, and our regional president of Europe, Andreas Patakis, issued a statement of support in relation to the Ombudsman of the Ukraine. Third, we give advice and support, and that is provided through our wonderful Secretariat staff in Vienna, led by Mr. Meinhard Friedel, but also with our long-standing and outstanding colleagues, Karen Wagenberger and Ursula Bacher. They are always at your service, and we deeply appreciate their and the support of the Austrian government. Fourth, the IOI provides training programs, and we provide those to members and in relation to a range of best practice and other guidance materials. Fifth, the IOI also provides further monetary support for training programs offered by members and translation services. My colleague, Werner Amon, will discuss these matters in detail in his video presentation to you shortly. To further the value of being a member of the IOI is very strongly focused on international engagement. We are continuing to forge closer ties with the United Nations and other supranational bodies for the benefit of all members, and undertaking further work to promulgate the Venice Principles and the United Nations resolution on the role of the Ombudsman and mediator institutions in the promotion and protection of human rights, good governance, and the rule of law. In May this year, to further this vital engagement with the UN, IOI World Board members and the Secretary General and Secretariat of the IOI will hold our annual board meeting in New York and undertake a significant level of engagement with the UN and ambassadors to permanent missions to the UN. I personally already have 3 such engagements booked into my calendar with relevant ambassadors. Our IOI board members, Treasurer Carolyn Sacconi, African Regional President Florence Kajuju, Directors Bisisiwe Makwabane and Dr. Antonia Araju will play and be an integral part of the work that we do in New York. Well, colleagues, in conclusion, I want to express my sincere appreciation to IOMA and the AORC for initiating and organising this very relevant and timely seminar. As our worlds have grown apart as a result of the tragic ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, it is vital that we continue to create opportunities to meet and share knowledge. Ombudsman institutions, either in their national or subnational context, are a bulwark against the misuse of power of the state against its citizens. They are a protector of the basic dignities and fundamental human rights of our most vulnerable citizens. They are a promoter of the rule of law and democracy, and a proactive agent for change, so that governments continue to serve their citizens in the most fair, just, and effective way. Where members combine together under the umbrella of both the IOI and IOMA, the significant powers of the institution of the Ombudsman then can be even more powerful, even more transformative, and ultimately improve the lives of citizens. I close by saying to my many friends, and there are many, and colleagues throughout the extraordinary continent of Africa, you have my greatest admiration. You will always have my strongest interest and support. The IOI and I personally stand with you each and every day in the work that you do. We are here to serve you. We are your servants on a day-to-day basis. We want to provide you meaningful and direct benefits. I leave you with this thought. You have privileged me to speak to you today, and I thank you for it. And we should always remember this one basic fact. As individual officers, we are relatively small, but together we are very, very large. Together, as IOI and AOMA, we can and we do achieve extraordinary results. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your presentation. I think whoever had any doubts as to the functions of IOI, today we get to understand much better how it has helped us, how we can be stronger together. I like the thought that you've given us. I like the fact that you've said that as individuals, we are small, but together we are large. That is why IOI and IOMA need to come together to be able to make it large. Mr. President has been able to speak to us about the regions that constitute the International Ombuds Institute. You've been able to tell us about how you partner with the various international bodies to be able to get the support to the various institutions that you give support. We appreciate that the African region has been a great beneficiary of the monetary support that you give the IOMA institutions. We appreciate the training that you've stated that you give us. And of course, the visiting of various countries that have challenges when it comes to operations of the Ombuds institutions, as you have said. We also appreciate the fact that, and in fact, congratulate you, Mr. President, and the board, because you've been able to come closer and forged a relationship with the United Nations to be able to expound the Venice principles, the rule of law, good governance, and human rights. Thank you also for stating that we as the Ombudsman need to be stronger together and be able to make it work for the people of our respective countries. So you have said as well that there's significant power that we have as Ombudsman institutions, and if we use this power as together, as IOMA, as IOI, we shall be powerful, we shall be transformative, and we shall influence society so that the principles that we expound then can be felt and can be of benefit to the society. Thank you, Mr. President. We appreciate your wisdom, and kindly, when the questions that will be asked, we'll look at them and be able to send them to you so that you can respond once we finish up with the conversation. Thank you, Mr. President. We appreciate. We shall now move to the second speaker of the day. The second speaker is going as a pre-recorded video that is going to be exhibited for us to be able to listen to his wisdom. But that does from stating who he is and what he has been. So Mr. Werner Ammon is one of the 3 elected ombudsmen in Austria. He monitors the administration of the judiciary, the public prosecution, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He also investigates complaints concerning communal matters. Mr. Ammon is the Secretary General of the International Ombuds Institute. Previously, he was the chairman of the Austrian delegation to the Council of Europe, and also the Vice President of COE's Parliamentary Assembly. He has served as a Member of Parliament for 25 years. I can assure you that that is not something small, 25 years. So we have our speaker, the second speaker of the day, with very strong credentials. Actually, I cannot begin to state all the credentials today, but frankly now, we welcome our Secretary General of the International Ombuds Institute, who is going to speak to us about the value of being a member of IOI and how the institution is a tool to strengthen the capacity of ombudsman institutions. Welcome, Frankie. Let us have the recording of Mr. Werner.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, it is my great pleasure to speak at today's webinar on AOMA and the IOI, the value of being the African Ombudsman and Mediators Association, AOMA, and the International Ombudsman Institute, IOI, are organizations which can look back at many years of work and support for ombudsman institutions on the African continent and all over the world. AOMA and the IOI are well-known organizations. Our wide and diverse membership and the projects and services we offer to our members are proof that members see our organizations as valuable supporters of the ombudsman concept. Despite the fact that the AOMA and the IOI are so firmly established, I still consider it important to reflect every now and then upon what are the values of being a member and which benefits come with an IOI membership. I therefore thank AOMA and the AORC for hosting this webinar today and for giving us an opportunity to contemplate about the services and benefits we offer to ombudsmen around the world and how we can best support them as an organization. I would also like to echo the sentiments of our esteemed President, Mr. Chris Field, who underlined that the IOI and AOMA are equally important to their members and that the close cooperation and exchange between them are essential. The multiple joint ventures we offer to our members in the past are living proof of that. It is now my turn to speak to you about the benefits of being a member of the International Ombudsman Institute. The most important services that the IOI offers to its members are the following: regular conferences to meet and exchange knowledge, training, regional subsidies, publications, reference material, and of course support to colleagues. They come under threat. I'm pleased to elaborate on these core activities in more details. First, to conferences. The IOI holds a World Conference every 4 years. In between this period of time, other IOI-related events are taking place in the 6 IOI regions. Coming together at these events is an important opportunity to meet with colleagues from around the world, to exchange our experiences and to widen our knowledge. We form business relations, friendships even, with colleagues from other countries who have varying mandates, other resources, and different ways of working. These events are therefore great opportunities to enrich our knowledge and to forge closer ties with colleagues for future cooperation. Trainings. Another key priority of the IOI is to enhance its members' capability by way of training. From 2010 onwards, the IOI has offered training courses in Vienna on a regular basis. In addition to this, training workshops are also hosted by our members in the regions. The IOI seeks to offer training content which is important to its members. We managed to forge close ties with well-known partner institutions such as the Scotch Queen Margaret University, the Association for the Prevention of Torture, or the International Anti-Corruption Academy. Training we offer to our members so far included topics such as complaint handling practice and investigation techniques, or anti-corruption, or torture prevention, or unreasonable complaints, or how to deal with the media. The IOI offers training to its members free of charge, and we also try to fund a certain amount of scholarships to make sure that staff from offices with limited financial resources can also benefit from training. With its diverse and broad offer of training, the IOI enables members to improve the already comprehensive services they provide. Our training program also has a suitable effect because the knowledge that participants gain during these workshops is afterwards brought back to the staff of each Ombudsman institution itself. The positive feedback from member institutions shows a strong demand for training, and we strive to offer training on matters which are of relevance. In order to do that, the IOI relies on its members. I therefore invite you all to approach us with ideas and proposals for training content that you would consider as important for your work. It is with your help that we can continue to improve our services. Regional subsidies. Another direct benefit for members is the IOI's annual Regional Subsidies program. Within this program, the IOI makes a certain amount of money available for each of its regions to help finance Ombudsman-related projects. Member institutions can submit project proposals, which are then screened by the General Secretariat and presented to the regional presidents and the IOI board for approval. The high number of applications that we received each year shows the increasing need for direct financial aid. In these past years, the IOI was able to co-finance many promising initiatives, which included, among others, there was, for example, training initiatives in all IOI regions, like the development of a starter kit for Ombudsman institutions, implemented by our Australian colleagues, or an awareness raising program for women's and children's rights in Pakistan, training on transparency and good governance in Nigeria, guidance material on how to implement a human rights-based approach to the Ombudsman complaints handling work developed by the Northern Ireland Ombudsman, or guidance on how to measure the impact of Ombudsman investigations as proposed by one of our members from Canada. If you have interesting projects you would like to implement but can't because of a lack of funding, please look out for our next call for project proposals within the IOI Regional Subsidies Program. Make sure you contact us and let us know the details of your projects, and we will see if and how the IOI could support it. Publication and reference material. Another benefit for our members, although not as obvious as our offer of training and funding, are the IOI's publications and reference material. A few years ago, the IOI introduced it and its publication series of best practice papers. With these papers, we aim to provide guidance material on key features and matters to inform strong and independent Ombudsman institutions. Our best practice papers are intended to be practical rather than academic. They were introduced as a possible way of shared learning. They draw on experience of Ombudsman institutions and highlight ways of working, which are likely to bring about success. They are developed by members, for members, if you will. Best practices are continually developing as ombudsman institutions adapt to new developments. The IOI therefore welcomes new suggestions for this publication series. This makes sure that the papers we publish remain relevant and are perceived by our members as useful guidance material. Another important publication series is the Ios Comparative Studies. They offer comprehensive data on ombudsman offices in the IOI regions. They analyze offices in terms of their assignments, mandates, and competences, and they have become an important and comprehensive source of information on ombudsmen around the world. The IOI has finalized comparative studies already for Asia, Australasia, and the Pacific, as well as Europe. A comparative study on ombudsman institutions in Africa is still work in progress. Due to the COVID pandemic, there have been some minor delays in finalizing this publication, but we are hoping to do so very soon. While the best practice papers can be accessed by the broader public on the IOI website, the comparative studies are available to IOI members only in the member area of our website. Last but not least, Ombudsman under threat. Dear colleagues, one of the last key priorities I would like to mention, because it is of high value to our members, is the topic of the IOI support for Ombudsman under threat. Unfortunately, the issue of Ombudsman under threat has not cased to stay relevant, and I'm afraid we will see colleagues who experience difficult situations, verbal attacks, political pressure, budget cuts, or open harassment in the future. The IOI has made it one of its priorities to help colleagues who come under threat. We have established a set of guidelines which explain the procedure to the IOI undertakes when a member institution faces threats to its independence. In order to ensure that our support has impact and does not cause further harm, we are in close touch with the colleagues concerned and count on their input on how the IOI can best be of help. I would like to take this opportunity to once again underline that the IOI is ready to stand in solidarity with colleagues who face threats to their independence. In doing so, we will count on the close relations we have established with AOMA so we can join forces when and where necessary to support colleagues in the African region should they come under threat. Esteemed colleagues, I hope I have been able to provide more insight into the IOI services and present the main benefits you can enjoy as a member of our organization. I once again thank our colleagues from AOMA and the AORC for hosting this important webinar. It was a great opportunity to showcase the IOI's work and to bring greater understanding about what is the value of being a member and what are the benefits to come with such a membership. Thank you very much for your attention and all the best to all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Werner, for your presentation. If anyone had any doubts as to whether they should belong to the two organizations, then today it has been proved beyond reasonable doubt by Mr. Werner, the Secretary General, that it is important to be part and parcel of these institutions. What you've learned from Mr. Werner today is that there's 5 ways in which we can benefit as the various institutions There is the regular conferences that are held every 4 years, which are going to help us to be able to create more friendships, to create future cooperation. And the regular conferences now are very important for members of both institutions to be able to participate. The training, I believe each and every one of us has been a beneficiary of the trainings as it is right now. On complaints handling, we've had those trainings to learn to be better in what we do. On torture prevention, on the media engagement, as ombudsman, that is a very important thing for us to be able to communicate our messages out there. We've learned about regional subsidies, and of course, as the president of the African region, I would request our various ombudsmen in Africa to be able to apply in the areas of interest where they have challenges to the regional subsidy IOI to be able to be supported in their programs. We've been told about publication of materials where we can pass on our materials to be publicized for better consumption out there. We've been told about the support to colleagues, especially ombudsman institutions that are under threat. And we appreciate that because we know each of us in our respective countries face different challenges. And when we know there's a big brother, there's someone who can come in and support us and help us out, then we really appreciate. So we thank Mr. Wena, the Secretary General, for that speech that he's given us for the presentation. It has helped us to know much better how then being a member of IOI is going to help us to be stronger and build our capacity. So that as you pay the amount of money that you pay a subscription, then you know the kind of benefits you're going to enjoy once you become a member. So thank you, Mr. Wena. We appreciate your presentation. And if you may allow me now, we shall move to the next speaker, our third speaker of the day, my good friend, Mr. John Walters. Mr. John Walters has been the former ombudsman of Namibia. He served Namibia as the ombudsman from 2004 to 2021, last year. He is a member of the Law Reform and Development Commission of Namibia. He has a BA and LLB degree from the University of Western Cape in South Africa and was admitted as an advocate of the Supreme Court of South Africa in 1985. He is also served as the chairperson of the Transportation Commission of Namibia and a member of the Board for Legal Education. He was elected as the first vice president of the IOI in 2012 and president of the IOI for the period between 2014 and 2016. So Mr. John Walters appears to have been selected keenly and expertly because he has served IOI as a president and he has had quite a huge experience in the African region. So we welcome you, Mr. John Walters, to be able to speak to us about the importance of being a member to both IOMA and IOI. Thank you, Mr. Advocate John Walters. We now welcome you to make your presentation.
Thank you, Florence, for the kind words of welcoming and for acknowledging me as a friend. And I would likewise say to all, you are all friends, ombudsman, wherever they are friends. But good morning to everybody. And I warmly welcome the invitation by our colleagues at the African Ombudsman Research Center to participate in this important webinar on the value of being a member of both the AOMA and IOI. The information I'm going to share to you may be familiar to you. You may have heard it just previously, but I believe a reiteration thereof will be to the benefit of us all. The IOI and AOMA learning institutions. A good starting point for this presentation is to share with you the sentiments expressed by Adrian Clarkson, former Governor General of Canada at the 6th IOI World Conference 2004 in Quebec City. I may be wrong, it may be the 8th World Conference. And I quote, "The IOI is a good example of the institutions that are racing to meet the needs of a world that feels ever smaller. It is a learning institution, one that can grow because of the accumulated knowledge of its members, and which can be of practical benefits to citizens around the world," unquote. Unlike medical doctors and lawyers who graduate through medical or law school and programs of practical training, ombudsmen graduate through events, workshops, conferences, and meetings organized by AOMA and the IOI, where ombudsmen share their hard-earned knowledge gained by experiences over many years. Exchanging experiences with colleagues is a very useful mode of interplay at domestic, regional, and international level. And I agree with Martin Oosting that contact with colleagues is a source of inspiration for one's own work, whether it leads to the acquisition of useful insights that are worth following up, or whether it renews one's confidence in an existing practice, unquote. Unlike the family, which is the natural and fundamental group unit of society, so is the IOI the global group unit of ombudsmen, and AOMA the regional group unit of ombudsmen in Africa. Unlike the family, neither the IOI nor the AOMA is a natural group unit, but voluntary organizations where ombudsmen have the choice to belong to or not. Unfortunately, membership is not free. Through their collective membership, and members of AOMA and the IOI own the organizations. They are not shareholders, but co-owners. Benefits of belonging to the IOI. During its infancy, the most important aspect of the IOI's work was promoting the institution of ombudsman and providing support to existing institutions, particularly through training. 44 years later, the ombudsman is, I beg your pardon, 44 years later, the IOI is federalized in 6 chapters: Africa, Asia, Australia, and Pacific, Europe, the Caribbean, and Latin America, and North America. It is a network of like-minded institutions. The initial purpose of the IOI was important and remains perhaps the foremost reason why ombudsmen joined the organization. Networking has become much more effective. An information repository. The information function has been seen as central throughout the IOI's history. Acting in defense of ombudsmen. This has become a central focus of the IOI, and it has become involved in countries where ombudsmen are threatened or come under attack. Supporting capacity building, developing skills, knowledge, and resources of ombudsmen was and is still an important function of the IOI. Training has become more systematic because of the availability of more resources and partnership with specialized bodies in the anti-corruption and anti-torture fields, for example. It holds a world conference and meeting every 4 years. Benefit of belonging to AOMA. Federalized in 6 sub-regional chapters. It established the African Ombudsman Research Center with key functions inter alia, education and training for ombudsmen and staff, sharing of international best practices, serve as a focal point for ombudsman officers in Africa, by coordinating the activities and supporting them with a provision of information and training. AOMA holds biannual conferences and general meetings where members are eligible to be elected to office. AOMA members are eligible to be elected as regional presidents of the IOI with seats on the board of directors and or executive committee. Former ombudsmen who have made an exceptional contribution in respect of the purpose of the IOI or who has rendered outstanding services to the organization may be awarded honorary life membership of the IOI. In conclusion, I wish to commend the IOI and AOMA for not allowing ombudsmen to become islands, especially during these trying times, by providing constant information as well as training to members in the comfort of their homes or offices, a true demonstration of a value. While enjoying these benefits, ombudsman must remember to pay their dues timelessly to both AOMA and the IOI. I wish to thank you for the opportunity to share some thoughts and my very best wishes to all ombudsmen and staff for 2022. I thank you, Florence.
Thank you, Advocate Jen Walters, and we really appreciate your presentation. Thank you so much. We've learned a lot. You started us off with a quote, which I think is extremely applicable under our circumstances. And you stated that it was quoted by the former governor that the IOI is a good example of institutions that are raising to meet the needs of a world that feels smaller day by day. And that is what we must do as institutions. And the only way we can do that is to grow in terms of our membership. That is a very beautiful quote, and thank you for that. And you've also taught us today that while we go to universities to learn, to graduate, for ombudsmen, we attend events, we attend programs, we do research, and that is why we are able to share experiences that has been acquired over the years, like what you've given us today. And of course, I'll be borrowing from you as the president now of the African region. I know you're going to teach me a lot from your experience. You've also taught us about what, if you belong to IOMA and if you belong to IOI, do you become a shareholder or do you become a co-owner of the institution? We've really felt strengthened because we are not shareholders, we co-own the institutions. Also the benefits that you've been able to give us in as far as the belonging to the two institutions is concerned. You've said 44 years down the line, we have the 6 regions that now constitute the IOI. And the benefits of that come with being a member, capacity building, developing skills, and all the things that we benefit from being members of the two institutions. So Mr. Advocate John Walters, we really appreciate your presentation and thank you for the opportunity that you've taken out of retirement to be able to speak to us. God bless you. And I believe we are going to meet soon. Don't leave this place. We need your wisdom. We need your wisdom. Thank you, Advocate John Walters.
Thank you too, Florence.
We shall now move on to our next speaker, who is none other than the treasurer of the International Ombudsman Institute, our gracious lady, the only lady who was in this forum, in the speaker, our dear Caroline Achuma Sokoni. Caroline Sokoni is the current public protector of Zambia. She has a master's law degree in criminology from Queen Mary and Westfield College, University of London in the United Kingdom. She was appointed as acting director of public prosecutions for the Republic of Zambia in February 2004. She presided over the Town and Country Planning Tribunal as the vice chairperson between 2003-2005. In 2004, she was appointed as the Investigator General for Zambia National Ombudsman Office, where she currently serves as the country's National Ombudsman, a position she's held for the last 15 years. So you can imagine the world of experience that has been acquired by Honorable Sokoni for the years that she has served. And she's still the treasurer of IOI. So when you request for that regional subsidy, you know where it comes from. So Madam Caroline Sokoni was not able to join us physically, but she has a recorded video that we are going to listen to. I welcome you now, Madam Sokoni, to speak to us.
Across the African continent and all over the world, I welcome you to this presentation. I'm very pleased yet again to be among the speakers for this webinar organized by the African Ombudsman Research Center in liaison with the International Ombudsman Institute. My discussion today with you is on the value of being a member of the African Ombudsman Mediators Association. I was asked to make this presentation specifically because I think I must be among the longest serving ombudspersons on the African continent. Therefore, I have been with AOMA in various portfolios since 2004. I'm now serving as an ex-official member of the African Ombudsman and Mediators Association Executive Committee by virtue of my holding a portfolio also on the International Ombudsman Institute Board of Directors. Let me begin by appreciating the Ombudsman institution in Africa, as it has become a critical player in the governance agenda here on this continent. Its role in advancing administrative justice, the rule of law, constitutional principles, and human rights, and widening access to justice and quality services has strengthened and enriched governance on the continent by making it more meaningful to the people. Considering the role of an ombudsman, there was need for a regional institution in order to encourage the establishment, development, and promotion of the ombudsman concepts in Africa. Initially known as the African Ombudsman Association, the aim of the founding members was to encourage the development of standards and principles in the institution of the Ombudsman in Africa. Subsequently, the institution evolved to embrace all language groupings on the African continent, including French-speaking Africa and Portuguese-speaking Africa, and the institution was renamed the African Ombudsman and Mediators Association. Colleagues, in order to discuss the value of being a member of AOMA, it is imperative for us to delve into the objectives of AOMA, trace the milestones which have been achieved by AOMA, and derive from the aspirations of AOMA from its strategic plan, which is the 2019 to 2023 strategic plan, which was themed Repositioning AOMA for the Africa We Want. The 2019 to 2023 strategic plan broadly sets out what AOMA aims to do and achieve over this period, including rebuilding its own organizational framework, developing the capacity of its members for more effective delivery of their roles, and promoting the concepts and practice of ombudsmanship towards better governance of African countries. As guided and underpinned by its constitution, AOMA has been instrumental in encouraging the establishment, development, and promotion of African Ombudsman institutions, as well as supporting and promoting the autonomy and independence of these officers. This has been done by advocating for the development of Ombudsman officers in countries with no existence of such officers. Colleagues, being an Ombudsman means being there to protect the rights of others and resolve their complaints of administrative injustice. But it is important to note that there is no one who is there to speak for the plight of an Ombudsman when under attack, especially if the Ombudsman is an executive Ombudsman institution. Ideally, in a parliamentary Ombudsman setup, the parliamentary system exists to help to buttress the position of the Ombudsman and to help the Ombudsman enforce decisions. However, membership to an international organization is another way in which an Ombudsman institution can be protected, can be encouraged to implement its mandates without fear or favor. Membership to an international organization is very important to the existence of an Ombudsman institution and to the strengthening of an Ombudsman institution in a jurisdiction. Therefore, AOMA is a mechanism through which ombudspersons and their institutions find refuge in times of trouble. An example can be given in Mali, when that country faced instability. The institution of the Ombudsman was heavily supported by AOMA. However, under Strategic Pillar 5 in its 2019 to 2023 strategic plan, AOMA is working on creating a permanent framework for responding to crisis. This will enable AOMA to monitor and respond to crisis, any crisis that its members face. AOMA will be able to proactively provide support to its members, whether in a situation of internal conflicts or whether in a situation of attack by a government or in a situation where the institution faces extinction in that country. This will also allow AOMA to vigorously hold its members accountable to the principles and ideals on which it stands, such that Ombudsmen can become more alert to upholding high standards in the conduct of their roles. Deriving from its objectives, AOMA works to further mutual support, cooperation, and joint activities through information sharing, training, and development of ombudsmen and their staff. This is the reason behind the establishment of the African Ombudsman Research Center. Colleagues, you will agree with me that one of the key milestones of AOMA has been the establishment of AORC. During a resolution from the first General Assembly of AOMA held in Johannesburg, South Africa in 2005. When I refer to the first General Assembly of AOMA, of course, implying that this was the period when AOMA transitioned from being the African Ombudsman Association to the African Ombudsman and Mediators Association. Since its launch on 15th March 2011 at the University of KwaZulu-Natal in Durban, South Africa, the African Ombudsman Research Center of AOMA has been a focal point for Ombudsman offices in Africa. It represents an important platform for the exchange of knowledge and best practices, and has certainly been of great value for the African Ombudsman community. The African Ombudsman Research Center has supported members of AOMA in the provision of information and training, and by acting as a point of liaison with all participants involved in enhancing corporate governance in Africa, while mainly focusing on research that provides background information on issues and topics affecting ombudsmen and ombudsman trends and practices. The value and importance of AORC to AOMA members has been re-emphasized during the COVID-19 pandemic. You will further agree with me that AORC has been at the center of bringing us all together through virtual means during these difficult times. Since the declaration of the COVID-19 outbreak as a global health emergency on March 11th, 2020, AORC has been able to organize and coordinate various webinars and engagements, an example of which is this one that we are conducting presently. Starting from the training on report writing for African Ombudsman on the 14th August 2020 to today's webinar, AORC has provided us an excellent opportunity to discuss various issues pertaining to the operations of ombudsman institutions across the continent through these facilitated discussions. AORC, therefore, remains an instrumental part of AOMA, and all members of AOMA will continue benefiting from its services as a documentation and training center for the association. AOMA has also held successful execution of a wide-ranging capacity development program for heads and officials of member ombudsman offices. Examples such as the mediation training for ombudsmen operating in the African region, which was conducted in March 2019, is an example that has been replicated several times over before we entered the COVID era, and again currently. AOMA has further continued to encourage mutual understanding and assistance by and between members. This has seen memorandums of understandings being signed between ombudsman institutions and working together on several exchange programs. This is in line with goal number 5 of AOMA's strategic plan, which aims at advancing networking and professional engagement of officers and their functionaries. AOMA is further rebranding itself from just being a continental body of ombudsman institutions to a more robust and enhanced role of enhancing the membership of AOMA to the global network, which is represented by the International Ombudsman Institute. Therefore, AOMA has so far signed a memorandum of understanding with the International Ombudsman Institute, as well as with the African Union Commission. And in fact, with the African Union Commission, it has gained accreditation with observer status, with permanent representation at the African Union Commission. AOMA is lobbying within the region to persuade regional organizations to support the enhanced role of the Ombudsman as mediator in situations of tackling maladministration and armed conflict at the regional and continental level. The association is also working to advance the status of an AU agency These initiatives will enhance the profile of the association. Through its objectives of promoting good governance, including the observance of human and people's rights, transparency, administrative justice, and the fight against corruption, AOMA has been able to entrench itself as a formidable good governance tool on the African continent. AOMA has been able to adopt a framework of cooperation in promoting the strategic priorities of the African Union Commission in the realm of democracy, good governance, observation of elections, and peace and security. Further, in its effort to promote and enhance standards and principles which are generally accepted internationally as necessary for the proper and independent implementation of an ombudsman mandate, AOMA has adopted the Oliver R. Tambo Declaration for Minimum Standards for Ombudsman Institutions. The adoption of this declaration is aimed at promoting common understanding, especially among governments and policymakers, regarding the minimum standards required for any jurisdiction to have an effective ombudsman institution. It is a standard-setting document for ombudsman institutions, but it is also a standard-setting document for governments. Governments must adhere to certain basic minimum standards in order for an ombudsman institution to operate effectively in their jurisdiction. So this is a groundbreaking declaration. The interventions and milestones achieved by AOMA so far are a testimony that AOMA is a regional organization dedicated to advancing the development of ombudsman institutions in Africa. Therefore, not being a member of AOMA denies an ombudsman office effective representation both domestically and at international level. As AOMA is doing everything possible to enable its members to play a credible and more effective role towards the realization of Africa's collective aspirations, the association needs the support of its members more than ever, and the association also needs the support of governments all over Africa through the interactions that the association hopes to be having with governments at the African Union. The membership of AOMA itself direly needs the services of AOMA as an ombudsman service. An ombudsman who is a member of a representative organization at international level allows the office to benefit from access to ombudsman services. And I repeat, an ombudsman office also needs to benefit from an ombudsman service. AOMA and likewise the IOI are an ombudsman to ombudsman institutions. Membership to an international or regional ombudsman organization allows an ombudsman to have a mouthpiece, to have a representative. I would deign to say institutions like AOMA and the IOI act as international watchdogs for ombudsman institutions. An ombudsman cannot represent himself. Of course, Parliament is there, but above all, the international organizations for ombudsmen are there to represent and protect and enhance the role of the ombudsman internationally and domestically. Thank you so much for listening to me. Good day.
Thank you so much, our Honorable Treasurer. We have been listening to you and we've got your presentation. I can say that it is quite important that we learn the value of being a member of IOMA, especially within our continent, so that now we can come together. Our treasurer has been able to speak to us about what is it about being a member of the IOMA. She's told us about developing capacity and promoting the concept of ombudsmanship. That with that, then we shall be able to take care of the autonomy and the independence of the ombudsman. We as the ombudsman in our respective countries, we protect the rights of others. But the question is, who protects the ombudsman as you protect those who are under threat, as you protect those who are facing injustice or maladministration in society? We are also resolving their complaints. So there is no one to speak for the ombudsman. Coming together, therefore, helps us to be able to have someone to speak for the ombudsman. The Honorable Treasurer has been able to tell us about the strategic pillars that we share as IOMA. And she has told us that we need to be alert to the information sharing that we have, to the trainings that we undergo as ombudsman, and as we respond to the needs of the staff, because we have people who work with us, who work for us, who work in the offices, and we need to ensure that their capacity is built for purposes of ensuring that they also deliver in their mandate. Honorable Treasurer has been able to tell us about AORC, and we really appreciate the university for giving us a home, a place to be. Even during this COVID-19, we've been able to have various trainings so that we are able to sharpen the skills of the ombudsman. The Treasurer has been able to tell us that we are the mouthpiece of society. So if we speak out, then it is going to be a better continent. It's going to be a better world that is going to take care of the needs of these respective countries. So with that, we thank Madam Sokoni for that presentation. She's actually one of the senior most ombudsmen in the continent, and rely upon Madam Sokoni for the wealth of experience that she's acquired over time. So thank you to you, Madam Sokoni. We are going to pass our regards as IOMA. Now, there has been quite a number of questions and various interventions that have been raised. We have tried to keep time. I thank the speakers for each of them has kept the time that was allocated to them. But now, there being quite a number of questions, we might not be able to go through each and every question, but the attendance was good. We have over 150 persons and institutions that have attended this meeting. And some of the questions that have been raised from various parts of the world, we have questions from Pakistan, we have from Egypt, we have from Rwanda, we have from Italy. Various attendees have been able to ask questions in the chat group and also in the Q&A. So I won't be able to go through all the questions because there are very many questions, and most of them are around membership, but I'll just try to read out a few questions so that each of the speakers who is present can then respond to some of the questions as you sum up, as you conclude, as you wish us a goodbye. But I would just advise the other attendees that we might not be able to go through their questions. Those questions will be sent to the respective speakers, who then have promised that they're going to respond and give answers. We are going to give the email address that you can now get your answers from, and also ask further questions even after this training. So the questions that I have, each of you, the speakers who are present, feel free to respond to any of the questions because they have not been directed to any particular speaker. So I'll just read them out, and then any of you can respond to any one of them. And then from there, we shall be able to close the program. So I have a very interesting question. The first question that I'll read, we have an anonymous attendee. He hasn't disclosed his name. He says, I'm a teacher by profession. Do I qualify to be a member of IOMA? Do I qualify to be a member of IOI? That is a question. The next question comes from Yusuf from Nigeria. What is the process of becoming a member individually without necessarily going through the process of becoming a member of IOMA, without necessarily being in the institution of Ombudsman? So that is about membership. Our speakers will be able to explain or to tell us how you can become a member. The other question is from Fatma to everyone. She says that we are in the process of establishing an Ombuds office in Egypt, which can serve all Egyptians and non-Egyptians living in Egypt, receiving their complaints and helping solve them. We need your experience and support. We're going to get a response on that. I'll just put another question as we close from Gaspar. Since IOMA and IOI conduct joint operations with the scope of strengthening the capacities of the members, would it be possible for us to start reflecting on joint pronouncements in defense of Ombudsmen under threat, or reduced financial budgets, as well as joint pronouncements on Ombudsmen without a parliamentary mandate, so that they can benefit from a constitutional mandate? That's a strong question from Gaspar. The last question that I'll put to the speakers that has been sent to us is from the Ombudsman of Rwanda. The Ombudsman of Rwanda is asking, it has been stated that IOI works with partners. She's asking, are you able to see how we can partner much more as Ombudsmen of our respective countries with UNODC and UNDP and other United Nations agencies? So if the speakers can now expound on partnerships, how then we can come and benefit out of the partnerships that IOI enjoys. So with that now, I'll request Mr. President, if you can comment on any of the questions and then give us your remarks as we finish up this program. Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Regional President and Secretary General, so much for asking me to respond to those excellent questions. And it's so pleasing and such a wonderful reflection upon the IOMA and the AORC that we have so many participants in this particular seminar. It's a very highly attended seminar. And of course, from participants, not just through Africa, but all around the world. Once again, that speaks to the global influence that the AORC have in relation to the breadth, the depth, the quality of their research and the respect that it has globally. Just a couple of comments. In relation to membership, the IOI welcomes members, both institutional members, that is institutional ombudsman members, but also individual members as well. So we do have the capacity to have individual citizens as members of the IOI, and of course, ombudsman institutions as members of the IOI. I can see through the screen here that my colleague Karen from our IOI Secretariat in Vienna has included in the webinar information by posting the hyperlink to becoming a member of the IOI. And I can certainly say to you that you should feel free to either email my office or email Vienna, the IOI Secretariat, in relation to that. So we always are ready to support both individuals and institutional ombudsman officers in relation to how to become a member of the IOI. So we're here to encourage you, support you in relation to that membership application. And as I say, I think Karen is also, she has just also included the email. That's the direct email to Office of the Austrian Ombudsman, which of course is the home of the Secretariat of the IOI. So as I say, please feel free to email those membership applications. We will support you in relation to those membership applications, and we're delighted to do so. I would say two other things in relation to the questions that have been posed. One is in relation to a wonderful ancient part of the world, and that is Egypt, and of course a wonderful modern city and civilization as well. And can I say this, we would be hugely supportive of your membership of the IOI. And I personally will certainly stand ready to support you in relation to your membership of the IOI. You may contact me personally. You also may contact the IOI or both. And we will stand ready to take you through the process of joining the IOI. And as I say, my sincere and strong congratulations on you, to you, for this wonderful initiative of furthering the rule of law and protection of the citizens of Egypt through the creation of that institution. I could not be more pleased. Last of all, in relation to the excellent question about partnerships, it's a very important question. The IOI is deeply committed to partnerships internationally, so that is partnerships between the IOI and COROA, between AOMA, between the ILO, the Latin Ombudsman organisation institution. But we're also very committed to partnerships with organisations like the UNDP and others. And I can certainly say to you that in May of this year, I, the Secretary General and others will be progressing an application for the IOI to achieve observer status with the United Nations and to further our strong relationships with them. That is a key part of my commitment as President, building upon the wonderful work of my predecessor, President Peter Tyndall, the Ombudsman of Ireland, and a number of other colleagues. I will be, and I am deeply committed to furthering, as is all of the IOI board, our relationships with the United Nations, and that includes observer status for the UN. It also includes signing memorandum of understanding with relevant United Nations bodies, including UNITAR, the United Nations Institute of Training and Research. So I can say to that excellent question that was asked in relation to partnerships, yes, we're deeply committed to those. It is a strong part of my presidency that I'm committed to pursuing them. I'm joined with my wonderful colleagues, so many of them here today, including the Honourable Florence Kajuju, in joining me in that process. And I can say to you this, those partnerships are a key way that we will aid and benefit the citizens of all the nations that we serve, over 100 nations around the world, members of the IOI, and citizens of all of those countries will be empowered, enabled and supported through those partnerships with various United Nations bodies. So thank you for that excellent question and for all of the excellent questions. And I'll simply finish by saying this: what a privilege, what a pleasure it is to join you, to my wonderful friends and colleagues for whom I have the deepest respect and regard of all of the African nations. I cannot wait to see you in person. It's been too long that I've seen great old friends like Carolyn Ciccone, and I have the great problem so far of not spending time in person and enjoying collegiality with people like the Honourable Florence Kajuju. I can't wait to do that in person as well. So as I say, what a privilege it is to be here with you. Thank you for your wonderful support of myself, my presidency, and the IOI generally. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. We also hope that we shall be meeting physically very soon. Thank you for welcoming all those people who have expressed interest to be part of this huge family. And together we can only grow stronger and larger. So I'll welcome now my other friend, Advocate John Walters, to speak to us and respond to the questions, the issues that have been raised, and how we can be better as Ombudsman. Welcome, Advocate John Walters.
Thank you again, and thank you also, Chris, for that wonderful feedback and your own presentation and your commitment to the organization and to ombudsmen around the world. Having said that, Florence, the question of I think it's not the last question about the constitutional mandate, and that the IOI and AOMA specifically issued statement in support of ombudsman officers that are not constitutionally constituted, and how can we assist them? I want to say to the person who posed that question that he or she must remember that mother bodies are slow to interfere in domestic processes of a country. And if you do not, as an ombudsman of your institution, do not ask for specifically help, then my view is it was, and it is still is, a statement, issue a statement. It's sometimes helpful, but sometimes it may become what I call a paper tiger. If it's not implemented, it will remain a paper dream. So what the person who posed that question is to organize something in their country, either through Zoom or when the COVID is eventually over, that in-country event where we can speak specifically to the parliament and civil society in that country to help the organization to bring in the message to the government of his or her country. But he or she must approach the two or the regional body and the international body for a specific assistance, and not just be satisfied with a strong worded statement. I hope I answered the question of the person who posed it. Thank you, Florence.
Thank you, Advocate John Walters, for the strong points that you've given us yet again. We appreciate you as always. With that now, because we seem to be running out of time, before we close these presentations, I would welcome our President of IOMA to please give us our closing remarks. Madam President, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Secretary General of IOMA and the Regional President of IOMA, of IOI. Thank you to the President of IOI. Thank you to Advocate Walters, and thank you so much for availing yourself. Thanks to PP Sakoni. Thank you to the Secretary General of IOI, and they've provided information for IOI, the membership. Even to be a member of IOMA, you should be an institution. You can visit our website at ioma.aOMA.ukzn.ac.za. You will get all the details. But what is important, you will get all the speeches which were made here and all the contributions and the documents which have been made. Thank you so much for availing yourselves, and let's continue engaging. Indeed, we cannot be held hostage by this virus. Let's hold it hostage. Let's continue engaging and learning from these processes. Thank you to everyone. Be safe. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you to Madam President. And we have two presidents. Actually, we have many presidents in this meeting today. So thank you. Thank you to all the presidents who are present today. Thank you to Mr. Wena. Thank you, Walters. Thank you, Madam Sokoni. Thank you, Frankie and Marion. You've always been such a wonderful team, always putting together a team and ensuring that we are so far apart, but we can speak and see each other. We also thank the IOI team that has been able to ensure that Mr. President is present and each and every one of us. And to those Honorable Sokoni and Mr. Wena who are not present physically, we appreciate the time they took to be able to record the video so that we don't miss out on the knowledge they needed to share with us. So to everybody, the attendees that we have not been able to respond to your questions, each and every one of you, it has been stated by Madam President, the website you can visit, the emails that you can write to us, and we can assure you that every question that has been asked will be responded to by the speakers and by the office at the Secretariat of IOI and IOMA. From the Secretary General and the President of the region, who was the facilitator of this program. I hope I've done justice to this program. Otherwise, thank you very much and God bless you. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Marion.
Okay.